Greetings, everyone. Craig Hester here with R2AWatches.com, and thank you for joining us again as we continue on our journey through all the watches and accessories that are available at R2AWatches.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, like I always say, please be sure to like and subscribe. Sign up for those push notifications too, so you're one of the first people to know when we post a new video, and you can be one of the first to watch it. If you're watching this on Facebook, be sure and join the closed group Vostok Europe Timepieces, or VET. It is the best place to find out about what's going on at R2AWatches.com with our watches and accessories, like this winder here, other things. We post everything there first. So if you're a member of that group, you are in the know. You are an insider at R2AWatches.com. Don't let the name fool you. It is about all the watches that are at R2AWatches.com, not just about Vostok Europe, even though, of course, we talk a lot about Vostok Europe there. But speaking of being about more than Vostok Europe, we are very excited today to point out that we are bringing in a new brand. I'm really excited about this brand. I've been watching them for quite a while. I really like what they're doing. The brand is Ocean Crawler. I'm going to assume that a good number of people probably watching our videos who are watch guys are going to be somewhat familiar with Ocean Crawler, but I'm going to give you an overview today of their Core Diver series. This is going to be the Core Diver and the Core Diver GMT. Now, Ocean Crawler is what you would consider a micro brand, sticking with the phraseology of what micro brand watches are. Now, I'm not going to get into the specifics of what, in my opinion, makes a watch a micro brand versus, say, a boutique brand or a call brand. In fact, there's plenty of, just the word controversy would be appropriate. Certainly arguments. What a surprise. We have arguments about something on social media, but there's a lot of debate about what makes a watch brand, specifically a micro brand. I'm just going to say that at this point, it's very fair to say that Ocean Crawler stays right in that definition, similar to how Pramsius is with R2, with the brand that we own here at R2A, although Ocean Crawler absolutely produces more watches than we do with Pramsius. So it is a micro brand. They are dive watches. These are some seriously cool and serious dive watches. Before I even get into other details, I'm going to point out that they're 60 ATM. That's 600 meter water resistance. That is a very, very serious dive watch. I like their designs. I like all of the aspects of it, the packaging, everything that goes into it. So let me give you just a little bit of background about the brand. The owner's name is Christian Champion. I actually got to meet him briefly at one of the wind-ups in New York one year. We hardly got to talk, but I can say that I actually have met him and shook his hand. But recently we were talking with them about whether we would be able to carry the brand, and they actually had heard about the positive and great reputation that R2A Watches has, and felt like we would be a really good fit for them, and we definitely feel like they are a good fit for us. Christian was actually born in Peru, and then he was actually educated in England, and eventually he wound his way up to Rochester, New York, which is where he is based and where Ocean Crawler is based. A bit of trivia, I actually have lived in Rochester, New York myself, and my wife and I, Christine, who is my business partner, we were married in Rochester in 1994. So Rochester actually has a wonderful place in my heart. Some of the things that make Ocean Crawler what it is. Well, Christian, to get back to him a little bit, he had actually been very successful in launching software and internet software type companies. You can tell I know the technical terms for that really well. He actually was owner of one of the first companies to create software to allow parents to track what their children do on the internet. But he had always been, while he was successful in those businesses and he enjoyed them a great deal, he had always been a watch guy. From his youth, he was into watches and enjoyed watches and the mechanical nature of them and what they were all about. So he decided at some point to get out of the software business or the internet business or whatever terminology you want to use, and he went into watches and created the Ocean Crawler brand. This launched in 2016. For the brief amount of time that this brand has been around, it has really, really grown quickly and had a real impact in the marketplace of watches. You can find many people, including people now in our group, Vostok Europe Timepieces, who are big fans of Ocean Crawler. I can even tell you that Abe Weiss, my Jewish grandmother who works here at R2A Watches, he owns an Ocean Crawler and he loves it. So we are very excited to bring them in here. So Christian's what he wanted to do with watches is, first of all, he likes dive watches in particular. So he knew he wanted to develop a dive watch brand, thus the name Ocean Crawler. And he wanted them to be serious dive watches that could be affordable. When he was doing his software business, he owned, all the call brands that we think about, Rolexes, Omegas, what have you, and particularly in the dive watch category. I'm sure he probably had a Doxa in there somewhere. And he wanted to build affordable, as he puts it, affordable luxury. So the combination of things that he does with this brand, first of all, is American assembly. So the watches are assembled in Rochester, New York, where his offices are there in Rochester. Second of all, he wanted to use Swiss movements. Now, so they're not Swiss made, and it's important to point that out because they are actually assembled in Rochester, New York. So it's a Swiss movement with American assembly. And in fact, at the bottom of every dial, it actually says Rochester, New York. And I really find that an interesting and great touch. So you've got American assembly, you've got Swiss movements, and that is the case with these. These have Swiss automatic movements in them. The Core Diver series, now I want to point out there are several different series that Ocean Crawler makes. We just so happen to have here for this video the Ocean Crawler series. And another thing that Christian does that's important to him, and actually we do similar to this a lot of times with Pramsius, and I really appreciate this, is very small batch numbers. In fact, he actually goes a lot lower than we do. A lot of times the watches are as few as 50 per dial. In this particular case, with the Core Diver, which is the one I'm holding here, which is the full lume, which is not the GMT, you can look on the back and you can see that this is of 100 pieces only. So there's only going to be 100 made of this full lume version on the Core Diver, and the GMT is 200 per dial. Now, compared to a lot of the watches that we normally carry at R2AWatches, these are not really big watches. They're 44 millimeter. Now, I admit, we all know at one time, a 44 millimeter would actually have been considered a pretty big watch. By today's standards, a 44 millimeter certainly would be a more traditional size. So I'm going to go ahead and measure too. I always like to measure while we're doing the videos. So from side to side, let me get in there right. Yep. Oh, 43.9 width. Now they're actually pretty thick. It's 16.8 millimeters, which actually for a 44 millimeter watch is pretty thick. I'm going to get to why that's so thick in just a minute. And then if I can do this without messing up here. Yeah, we're almost 50 lug to lug. Okay. So because of it being so thick, first of all, it wears like a bigger watch than it is. You know what? I'm going to throw one on my wrist if I can. I didn't take the protective materials off of the bracelets here for this show, but I'm sure I can get one on the wrist just enough so you can see how it looks on the wrist. And again, as I always like to point out, I have a 7.5 inch wrist. I don't have a big wrist. I don't have a small wrist. Mine would be considered really a medium for a man. So you can see how it fits. Even at 44 millimeter, because of the thickness, it's going to wear pretty big. And the reason that it is so thick, it gets back to that water resistance of 60 ATM or 600 meters or 2,000 feet. And the reason for that is to get the kind of gaskets and materials that have to be inside the watch to achieve that level of water resistance, you have to have a lot of room in there, thick room to put in, thick gaskets. For instance, just as one example on this, the sapphire crystal, and they are all sapphire crystals, and by the way, they are sapphire inlay in the 120 click unidirectional rotating bezel as well. The sapphire crystal is 4 millimeters thick. Now, you've seen me show Vostok Europe crystals that were that thick or thicker. When you're talking about a sapphire crystal that thick, that is an extremely expensive process. So that definitely, for them to stay in the price range they are with a 4 millimeter thick sapphire crystal, is just wow in and of itself. And then when you add the 60 ATM, in the two Core Divers, one of them, like I said, is really just your three-hand timekeeping, and I don't mean just in any negative way. I love three-hand timekeeping watches. I'm just letting you know there's not an additional complication in the Swiss movement that is in the standard Core Diver series from Ocean Crawler. And then you've got the GMT version, which what that means is this additional hand here can be actually set independently. I just have to get to the right position on the crown. Hold on. Sorry, guys. It's here somewhere. And this is where, oh, I'm changing the date now. There we go. So the GMT hand can be set independently. It's going to be on a 24-hour scale, so you can get a secondary time zone. Now, of course, for this to be a professional grade diver, it does have a unidirectional rotating bezel. It is an extremely tight, well-built rotating bezel. You can just feel the quality. One of the things I like on the Core Diver is he put these little dimples here and then these little rough areas, and it really makes it easy for your finger to grab the bezel, because it is a tight bezel because he wants no risk of slippage. But because of the way he designed it, the Ocean Crawler designed it, it's actually quite easy to turn with those. Now, the Core Divers that we have here, I'm going to pull one out of the Vostok Europe. Yes, sacrilege. I put a different brand in the Vostok Europe winder here. In the Vostok Europe collector's case, I did put one of the Ocean Crawlers in here. By the way, we do still have custom watches from Vostok Europe with a winding capability, but there's other videos about that. We have the green on green with the black. Then we have the orange accent on the black. This is actually a full loom dial. You know what? While we're sitting here, I'm going to have Abe douse the lights in a minute, and we'll. You want to run douse the lights, and as soon as they go off, I'll know what's happening, and I will show them what the full loom looks like. And then we have what they call the blacked out. You can see it doesn't actually have numbers on the external base. Oh, there we go. Wow. Look at that, guys. Look at the great loom on these watches. Holy, this is C3 Super Luminova, and it is fantastic. All right, Abe, you can bring up the lights. Thank you. So you've got the full loom, and then this is what they call the blacked out, which again is sapphire here. Now it doesn't have the marking off, the demarcations on the chapter ring of the bezel, so you're going to have to use the internal numbers on this, the 1 through 60 on the inside, if you're going to use it for elapsed time. This was really a design aesthetic decision they made, because they wanted this to be truly blacked out. With the dark charcoal gray dial with the sun ray, and then the black sapphire embedded in the unidirectional rotating bezel. Now, the packaging is off the hook on this. It is this beautiful leather packaging with a wood top that just, with Ocean Crawler beautifully stenciled on there. The wooden top with the leather outside and a very high quality interior. Every Ocean Crawler is going to come with at least 2 straps. Sometimes that is going to be like here with your really, really awesome mesh bracelet that this has on this, and then an additional strap, leather, silicone, or this fabric style that they have. It is kind of extra strap roulette with Ocean Crawler. You never know exactly which additional strap you're going to get, but you always do know the main strap that the watch is going to come on. In this case, with the Core Diver, it is with the mesh. So those are the core elements of Ocean Crawler. We are going to come back. I know we're going to do another video about the Dream Diver as soon as we get some here that we can do the video with. Again, this is the Core Diver. It's in, it has the very classic cushion case look to it, but it isn't just traditional. I mean, the extra touches with the full loom dial, the really bright colors, the fact that he made a blacked out version, it has the GMT, the extra level of water resistance. It is, this isn't just another cushion case watch. I mean, you really are getting something special with the Ocean Crawler. We feel like Ocean Crawler is a really great fit for R2A. It really matches what we like to bring in with a watch. I like the fact that he wants to have American assembly. I think that's really cool. Especially, again, Rochester, New York has a special place in my heart. We really like the quality of the construction. You have to have quality construction if you are going to state that you are at a 60 ATM water resistance. Of course, that means quality construction. The extra thick sapphire crystal, the high quality rotating bezel, the sapphire inlay on the rotating bezel, Everything about this, when you get this home and you feel it, everything about this watch has an absolute quality feel to it. I think, I'm not sure what Christian's vision was in the very beginning when he first started thinking about moving out of software and into watches, but I would bet that what he ended up with is even beyond what his original dreams were, because these are just fabulous timepieces. And of course, the fact that they are automatic Swiss movements we consider to be a bonus as well. So there you have it. The automatic helium release valve as well. I'm just trying to think of any other. It's a 22 millimeter strap. I mean, the basic specs you can always find at R2AWatches.com. The main thing is I wanted to just give you a nice overview of the watch and the brand. So that's Ocean Crawler by Christian Champion. We are so excited to now have them at R2AWatches.com. We look forward to seeing your wrist shots at Vostok Europe Timepieces as soon as you put one of these amazing watches in your collection. Until next time, I am Craig Hester with R2AWatches.com, and hey, keep watching.